Okay, welcome to the Rybrook Planning Board meeting. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anyway, again, thank you for coming. My name is Rob Goodman. I chair the planning board. Also in attendance tonight are my colleagues, John Gerzan, Donald Crum, Scott Mendelson, Jeffrey Richmond, Amy Schoen. Also in attendance is our village attorney for tonight, George Alessandratos, our superintendent of public works, Michael Nowak, and our village planning consultant from Hardesty and Hanover, Sarah Brown. And here in spirit is also Tara Orlando, who is our board secretary, who does all the work behind the scenes to make us look intelligent and efficient. And so thank you, Tara, wherever you are right today. Our first, also, and I always overlook this gentleman, but I shouldn't because he's makes the world go round for us, is David Heiser, our liaison from the Board of Trustees. And thank you, David, he's very patient with me. I always forget him.
Even if he didn't call out my name, I'd still be here.
That's right, exactly.
You know who you are.
That's right.
That's the problem.
Right. Our first item in the agenda is the minutes of October 10th, 2024, and January 9th, 2025. Does anyone have any comments concerning those minutes?
I don't think I can vote on January's.
Okay, that's fine. I think we still have four. Okay. All right. Well, then we'll vote on what we can vote on. Okay, for January.
You were in the meeting.
Can we do both? We don't have.
This is not January, this was,
Even if they
October,
abstain.
October 10th.
You don't have to be there to vote on minutes.
All right, that's fine.
Is that true?
Either way, there's 4 people. Yeah, there's 4 people. You guys have 7 for quorum.
Okay, as long as it's copacetic, I'll go along with it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second to adopt both minutes then?
Moved.
second.
Mr. Grzan,
Yes,
Mr. Crum,
Yes.
Mr. Mendelson,
Abstain.
Mr. Richmond,
yes.
Ms. Schoen.
Yes, if I can vote.
Thank you. Chairman Goodman.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. All right, our first application is the 900 King Street application, and I know you have time constraints, so I want to accommodate
Putting
you.
us first, looks like that works.
Yeah, okay,
We should be fine.
that's fine. Now, just for the benefit of the public out there, the planning board does have approval on the amendments of the site plan. We're going to be scheduling a public hearing so that members of the public can address the application. I would prefer not to have the public address it tonight, simply because it helps to have other members of the public in the audience to hear the questions and answers of their fellow residents, because sometimes that sparks additional conversations. So I would beg anyone's indulgence out there who has shown up as a member of the public that there will be an opportunity to speak, but I want to have the applicant be able to present the amendments to the site plan and to have the board discuss it. And I think that's going to take enough time to tonight. But of course, you're welcome to listen and file things away and address us probably next month if everything goes well. So move forward, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Goodman, members of the Planning Board, David Steinmetz from the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz. Pleased to be back before your board this evening and to be representing Sunrise Senior Living. I am joined by essentially our entire team. We wanted to make sure everyone was here so that we could thoroughly present and answer your questions. Clyde McGraw and Colin Buckley from Sunrise Senior Living, my colleague Vincent Padone, Stuart Lax from Perkins Eastman, our project architects. I believe his colleague Valerie Mutterpearl is probably online watching and has been intimately involved in this as well. Anthony Nestor from JMC, our project engineers and planners, and Rick Parisi, our landscape design and landscape architect. As the chair indicated, we are here with regard to Sunrise on an amended PUD site plan application. Sunrise, as you probably all know, is one of the largest preeminent providers of senior living throughout the nation. Approximately 250 residential facilities providing independent living, assisted living, memory care, and in this instance, the unique additional concept that you had previously reviewed and approved, and that is cottages or townhouses. The good news, I hope, is that we are not here to make this project bigger. We are here to make this project a little bit better. We have met with your staff. We have met previously with the Village Board of Trustees and shared some of the early thinking before we even filed the amended PUD. We have also, and I'll get to this in a few moments, we've also met with our neighbors at the Arbors. It was stressed to us from Mr. Bradbury and the staff. We obviously are well aware of what you all went through, what your Board of Trustees went through several years ago, and the project that you referred favorably to the Board of Trustees on June 24, 2021, and the project that was approved by the Board of Trustees on September 16, 2021, is the project that's before you. Nothing significant, nothing substantial is changing. This is still a 231-unit senior residential facility with 126 independent living units, 85 assisted living units, and 20 cottages or townhomes. So why are we here? We're here because once Sunrise, which is now a contract vendee, they do not yet own the property, but once they entered extensive due diligence, they analyzed with really a terrific team here what you all had previously reviewed and approved, what George Comfort and Sons had presented, and no disrespect to our seller and George Comfort and Sons, but they don't own and operate 250 senior residences throughout the United States. So obviously Sunrise had some ideas and some thoughts of ways to make better use, more efficient use of some of the property and the buildings. In fact, as we're going to walk you through tonight, the independent living building footprint getting a little bit smaller. The assisted living building footprint getting a little bit smaller. Some additional amenities being introduced onto the property. Some better safety measures, in particular at both entrances or porte cocheres, improved based upon Clyde and his team's experience in making sure that visitors as well as first responders can easily access the property and kind of circle through the drop-off areas where those of us who have had parents in independent living and assisted living know one of the keys is going to visit. When your dad's in independent and assisted living, you got to go there and you got to visit, and you have to be able to get in and out of there efficiently. And I have lived that directly and appreciate what this team did to improve upon the design. In addition, one of the things that was stressed when we met with your staff and read the record, the height of the building is not changing. I'll say that again so everybody's clear. The height of the building is not changing. It is remaining zoning compliant. Perkins Eastman knows fully well how Mr. Fuse measures grade and height in this village. We spent quite a bit of time understanding that, and the roof line and the height of the building will remain at that level that was previously approved. Green space. I said that the buildings were getting...
Speaking about the height levels, there was a letter that was introduced today or yesterday where somebody's questioning the facility on the top of the roof, whether they're going to be, how they will be shielded.
The arbors, yeah.
So that changed the height level. Keep
So
that
we
in
will,
mind. Yeah.
so I got the letter, and Leslie called me in advance and made sure I knew the letter was coming. Again, I'm going to take a step back and address that directly. I know Leslie...
No, do it when you do your
But I want
presentation.
to,
Yes.
in terms of the fact that you just raised it, I want you to know I reached out to Leslie when we first got involved. We set up the meeting and met with the arbors. I'm aware of what she said in the letter and what Mr. Noskin had said previously. We're going to get to that tonight.
Sure, okay,
I
good.
just want to put you at ease at the outset, despite at least what folks that may not understand exactly how you all measure grade in the village, we do. And we're confident in telling you we're going to hold to the height.
May I-
One thing related to that.
Go ahead.
And George, you can confirm, this project still goes to the ARB, right?
Yes.
Right. I mean, you're going to deal with the height issue with them.
Mr. Chairman, we are very well aware. This project had been before the ARB
They never got
initially.
a chance to, that's right.
And this project had been before the ARB. It never fully completed that process, but they've been through the
Yeah,
ARB already.
yeah, I know, and-
And we expect, in fact, one of the things that I hope George will be telling you is we're hoping you're going to refer us formally to the ARB so we can begin that process.
That actually, I think, was our intention. So the,
Steinmetz, if I may,
Sure, go right ahead.
I need to talk, otherwise I have a difficulty breathing.
That's okay.
In your introductory remark, you said nothing has changed in terms of the project, but I think there is a major change. We do have a potentially new owner, new developer, don't we?
Yes, but that relates to the user, not the use. But so the use remains the same.
Correct,
Project
but there
remains
is a
the same.
major change. There is a key component that's different now than was in the previous project that was before us.
You mean because now you have the preeminent Sunrise operating it rather than
Thank-
not knowing who was going to operate it?
Thank you.
Okay. So that, again, I said the project was going to get better, not bigger. That's another attribute of why the project is getting
okay,
better.
continue, sir.
Thank you, much appreciated. In terms of green space, the project is going to increase overall green space by just under 5,000 square feet. We're going to walk you through that on some slides. In terms of open space, in terms of programmed and other open space, increasing by 13,700 square feet. And probably the most significant new pieces of the application are that Sunrise studied our market here in Westchester County, including other projects nearby, and noted that particularly with regard to the cottages, which are independent living rental residences, they were all designed with single one-car garages. Sunrise felt in order to be market sensitive and competitive, each of those cottages needed to have a two-car garage. So Stuart and Anthony are going to walk you through how that changed, how that works, and how it actually makes each of those buildings a little bit more functional.
Can I interrupt at this point? Just, okay. It's one of my questions. With the extension of the garage space,
Yes.
does that change the design of the interior, and does it decrease the size of the rooms on the inside?
So I'm going to ask you to wait a couple of moments to get to that slide. It's a minimal change in the interior design, but overall the unit remains essentially.
I know the bedroom, there's going to be a master on the first floor,
So
but
let's talk about that for a moment. That's not happening in every single one of the
Right,
cottages.
10 of them.
The
Right.
second component is that 10 of the 20 cottages will have one of the bedrooms that was originally designed to be on the second floor pulled down to the first floor. As Clyde and Sunrise can explain, again, market, utilization and functionality, people like to have that additional bedroom on the first floor. We are not adding bedrooms to these 10 cottages. In fact, the space up above that was originally a bedroom now can become a den. It will eliminate a closet. It is not a functional bedroom. We can talk more about that. And we will give you the numbers on the size of the units and how they minimally changed. 10 of them become, we believe, a little bit more attractive to those who want to have that second bedroom on the first floor. In terms of lastly, I'm going to hand it off so we can get to the slides. Wetland impact, stormwater impacts, none of that has changed. So from a secret standpoint, we believe the impacts of the project remain identical. I think you all know the other night, your Board of Trustees issued its notice of intent to once again be the lead agency for secret purposes. We're well aware of that. We will ultimately appear in front of the board. We have submitted an environmental assessment form. We have our whole team here to answer technical questions. Again, we remain confident that everything that you went through 4 and 5 years ago in terms of engineering, planning, fiscal, visual, that all remains the same.
Okay,
Have you-
I don't want to interrupt you for very long. I just want to put you sort of on notice of an issue relating to a memorandum that we received from our engineering firm indicating that there were outstanding items. I don't know whether you received that memo yet?
It was online in
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, right.
that I noticed today.
So, answer, I obviously just saw it today.
Okay.
Regarding
All right.
Viola water.
Yeah, I mean, we'll,
Thank you for letting
yeah,
us-
we'll,
letting me know.
we'll, yeah, we'll table this until.
Comments from last.
Right, right. And I think the issue is, and I know I've heard from board members on that, is, your, due diligence in addressing that memo, because apparently some of these items are like several years old. There's a 2021 memo that I think that the engineers referred to. So I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't lost in the
Perfect.
mix.
We're not going to put Anthony on the spot to start trying to deal with that tonight.
Right, I understand.
So we will respond to that memo or those memos in writing. You will get a comment response from us. If Anthony has seen anything that he wants to speak to, he is going to be part of this presentation and he can address it. But I, again, appreciate the fact that you've told us about that. If there are unanswered issues that somehow post-date your approvals and secra, but still have to be addressed, we know we need to address them.
Yeah, all right.
So I'm going to turn it
Thank you,
over to Stuart. We're going to walk you through some slides and take you through what we believe are the improvements to the project.
David, Stuart Lax, principal with Perkins Eastman Architects, Stamford, Connecticut. Pleasure to be back before the board again presenting this project. Just a quick agenda. We're just going to go through, really walking through some of the revisions around the building. There we go. Just to familiarize everyone with the site, this is an aerial view of the existing, and for those following along, this is where we are in Village Hall. Here's Arbor Drive, and there's the arbors, and there's the hutch and King Street. Make that go away. There we go. So this is the site plan as was approved in September of 2021. And this is our proposed site plan. And as you can see, substantially the same and consistent with the prior approvals in terms of coverage and setbacks and the like.
Where are it's very hard to differentiate the changes, I guess.
We have a
You're gonna get
Oh,
to
you
that.
have a layer, okay.
later
Yeah.
that
Yes.
we superimposed one outline on the
Okay,
other.
good.
and
Thank you.
You'll be able to see, yeah, we thought you might want to see that. But just again, a refresh, the number of units, both within the IL, independent living, the assisted living, and memory care, have not changed. And the parking, there's a slight increase in parking because of the two-car garages, but otherwise, the parking is consistent with what it was. And I'm going to just sort of quickly walk through this, and then I think Rick's going to take over from a landscaping and site development work. But this is the master plan landscaping plan rendered to show you. This is the September 21 plan is approved, and this is the new current plan. And hopefully you can see the red line, which is the outline of the previously approved, superimposed on the new plan.
So this, Rick Parisi, MPFP Landscape Architects. Nice to see you guys. Been a long time. So what Stuart mentioned is what you see here in this plan here. I think I can go on there. The red line is the old building over the new building. So what we gained when we talked when David talked about the increase in our open space, that's in those courtyards there. So we took a piece of building out and created a couple of new courtyards. The rest of the site plan remains the same. We moved trees around to accommodate some changes in the building. There was I know there's a memo that notes that we were shy on shrubs by 100. We were not intending to be. We're going to have the same amount of shrubs we had before. We didn't really total them up, but you guys did. But our intention is that the planting remains the same, the screening remains the same, the open space increases.
They said that there was a increase in trees, but a decrease in the shrubbery.
Yes, yes, but there's no decrease in shrubbery. That was not intentional.
Okay.
In fact, we'll probably have a little bit more. This is an enormous site, and as you guys know, the numbers are very big. But I think that perhaps when we were drafting, there might be a drafting error in there in terms of the number, because the number was supposed to be the same.
Well, I'm sure,
We did put more trees in.
yeah, well, I'm sure Sarah will,
So she caught it.
she'll make sure that everyone is in accord on the number of shrubs and trees.
But, the important thing is that there's a 13,713 square foot increase in the open space. And when, we did that, we went to the ARB with that and everything, and we have an increase in that. So that's those courtyards and some of the other areas around there. Everything else remains the same. What you can see here is these are the aerials we created in 2019-20. They show the existing vegetation that is retained. We're not taking any vegetation down adjacent to the arbors. And then that light green area there is additional vegetational buffer, which we worked together with you and the arbors for, many times going round and round and adding like 30 feet of additional vegetation along that whole area. Right? Next one, Stuart.
Can I interrupt on that?
Yeah.
We had another community with a similar sort of initial worry about screening. Screening was added and brought up close to the buildings, and now, what is it, like 10 years later, they're getting a lot of dieback, and they're sort of regretting, both parties, in a sense, are sort of regretting what happened, because the density, and I'll let an arborist describe, but we just went through with another community here in Rybrook just, 2 months ago, I think. And both parties are sort of regretting densifying the screening.
Yeah, you can't plant it like we used to plant parking lots with evergreens,
Yeah.
the day one. This is planted in a very natural setting.
Okay.
There's a lot of room between the evergreens,
Oh,
and then
good.
there's a layer of deciduous trees behind that. You remember, we went through this, we gave it a lot of room because we wanted it to be sustainable.
So,
Right.
so that issue won't rip.
That's not gonna happen.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
perfect.
I think the problem is trees tend to grow.
It's a good thing.
That's one of them, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right,
And, so the next one, Stuart.
This is the next one. Or you want the-
Oh, I'm looking at this. Yeah, okay. That's now, okay. So it remains the same. It's exactly the same as it was. That's what these two plans show.
Okay.
Right, no change in the buffer. Next one. So these are the pictures, and I forget who walked this with me, but we walked this at the Arbors. Steve Ketchum walked this with me. We walked this many times. We took the photographs because everybody wanted to see the winter views. And so what you have on the left is the winter view, and then you have on the right the proposed condition with the new building. And so remember, we're putting over 30, 40 feet worth of trees, layers of trees beyond that. Right? And some of those are evergreen. So, and we showed you this in 2021. You saw this. So again, another view. And next one. That's it for the landscape. Thanks.
Thank you.
So, again, in looking specifically at the independent living building and the assisted living building, this is the 2021 floor plan. And we've superimposed here, the green line is our proposed plan, and again, you can see that we've pulled everything in a little bit. We've sort of tightened up the efficiency of the overall footprint. That's what's given us some additional open space on the site, but substantially similar to where it was. And this is the new proposed plan. And just for, give you numbers to work with, a little over 48,000 in total building area have been reduced from the IL and AL buildings, and the footprint itself is reduced by over 10,000 square feet between the two buildings. I'm not going to go through these in detail, but we've got some slides that will highlight it. These are the sort of changes around both the site and the building that really articulate the difference that we've done. And I think Anthony's going to walk through these one by one. Slide is forward.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. council, staff. My name is Anthony Nestor with the firm of JMC, and I'm here to just go through some of the changes that were made to the entrances at the AL entries, as well as some minor modifications that were made to the back of the house area, and changes or show minor changes at the townhouse, area to the south of the property. So on the screen here, you can see, and all these screens that you see coming up in the next few slides, the previous approved plan that would be on your left, and the current proposal is on the right. So I try to make them the same size so you can see an equal comparison of the two. So this is the IL entrance, which is in the middle of the H, if you want to call it an H, of the independent building. And you can see on the left where the ring road or the drop-off area is like a circular type of area as it comes in. And I don't think it's going to see much when I put it on here, but I'll just stick to that area there, because that's really where the majority of the changes occurred. And you can see that access width of that turnaround area, we had it at 18 feet on previous approvals, which gave room for a bypass if there was a car stopped dropping off, a resident or somebody was picking somebody up. There was some room. But you can see on the right, on the current proposed plan, the shape has changed, somewhat to provide more of an open feeling as you come into the area. So as you come in up through into that space, we increased the access width around there to 24 feet to give us some more room, just in case, you want to have a little bit more flexibility and some more, some more space as cars are parked along here, if there are parked up along there, or up along the curb. And just keeping in theme with the revised architecture, squaring those things off just seemed to open everything up and make it a little bit more open feel, instead of having more of a cramped feel with regards to that. The remainder of the on-grade parking spaces, previous plan proposed 7 parking spaces that were located in this area. We're still locating 7 on-grade parking spaces in that area. The location of where this access came off the main ring road has not changed. And it was just really the circulation around the drop-off area which was changed. Let's go to the next. And, what I do want to mention here too as well is the porch share. There's the existing porch share and the new porch share here. Still maintains a clearance height of 14 feet, which is important for ambulance access around. So as you can see here, we provided the truck moving plan for an ambulance to make sure that they can adequately maneuver around the drop-off area and under the porch share. This is the AL entryway. And again, previously on the left, those are the previous approved plan. It's still, I guess they used to call it the eyebrow drop-off area with the arch. The locations of where the actual turnaround has not changed from plan to plan. But again, the increase of width of the 6 feet from 18 to 24 feet, just to provide a little bit more space when things are going up there for the drop-off.
Have emergency services seen the new proposal?
So we have met with I believe it's called the Safe Housing Task Force.
Emergency Services Task Force.
And we did have a meeting. They did have some comments. They didn't really seem to have any issues with regards to these changes in the entryways. But we did review everything and provided them. So we're waiting for a comment from them, which we will address and probably most likely have another meeting with them just to address all their concerns.
And I assume that includes fire, police, and EMTs?
Yep.
Okay.
One of the comments from EMS about this entryway was to ask to have an area for the ambulance to park, so hence why now you see 24 feet on
Right.
there.
Makes
So you're
sense.
able to have an ambulance actually stationed while having
cars go.
That makes
area
sense.
for cars to go by,
Yeah.
so that's why you see that.
And in addition to that, also, there is a emergency service vehicle parking area, which was requested at the previous approval, and those still remain at each entrance. So, that's co-located there. And again, with the portiere height, clearance is 14 feet. Sorry, clear that. And then this just shows the movements of an ambulance that's able to maneuver around there without any conflicts. So the next area that there were minor modifications were to the back of the house area, or the back of the building. And this change was really brought more to provide more open space, as Mr. Parisi was mentioning before, and program space to the facility. So you can see on the previously approved plan, this area here versus this area here, where you can see on the current proposed plan, there's a large AL garden area, which is a program space for some of the residents of the assisted living portions of the building. So in order to accommodate that change, I'm going to go to the next slide, actually. The loading area, the hard concrete loading area, which was oversized to begin with regards to, what was being done there. You can see a little better around this. Was modified, to just really provide an apron for when trucks come in and just drop off. Everything is going to be loaded off the truck, so there's no recessed loading areas or anything like that. So it was revised slightly to accommodate this new gardening area here, and also to provide a little bit more open space and green. We also wanted to take the generators, which were really located closer to the building, as you can see on the left in green. They were relocated further to, I guess it's to the west, towards the hutch, just, for noise and keeping it further away from the building. And the same with the trash. The trash was relocated up into the corner of a parking area over here. And it really provided the same amount of parking spaces, and maneuvering of trucks, access in and out of it, it remains the same. So this is the townhouse area of the project. And again, you can see on the left versus the right, which is the current approval, the access road to these cottages or townhomes, whatever you want to call them, have not changed. So that this reverse D, and I guess I didn't want to change the color, but the access road that these things are served off of have not changed. The location has not changed. If you lined them up, they were in an exact same location. They were slightly adjusted between the property lines into the rear up along the hutch, as well as the property line along Harbor Drive, which is on the bottom, to maintain the setbacks that were required. Front yard is 42 feet off of Harbor Drive, and the rear property line, as you can see up in here, of 32 feet, or 30 feet, excuse me. So one of the things was, with regards to providing the two-car garages, is the parking provided for these exceeded 2.5 spaces per dwelling unit. So if every unit had a two-car garage, hence a two-car driveway, so that's 4 parking spaces that you can allocate per unit. We only allocated on our proposal, said there was going to be 3 spaces per unit, so whether all 4 spaces are used or not, but there's still more parking that would be required by code. Unless there's any questions on.
Can you address the decrease in square footage inside? In the whole building, not just the cottages, the entire, you're making it small, even though the footprint is the same. You've made everything
Footprint is-
smaller. I want to just know if that includes the main areas in the larger
The
buildings.
larger buildings. The whole building has shrunk slightly. The overall plans are a little bit more efficient. We took a little depth out of the apartments as well. So it's a lot of very thin slices all around the building as opposed to making sort of large changes to a few areas in the building. Does that answer your question?
Is your dining space the same? Do you have different dining rooms
We have
and?
several, programmatically, it's the same. There's been some minor adjustment to facilitate the way Sunrise likes to operate their dining facilities. but
I've
there
been
is still-
to, you know,
Yeah, there-
a few of your facilities, so I have seen them. And this is going to a little bit
Follow that
replicate
kind
some
of-
of that pattern.
model, Yes.
Okay.
This is the townhouse plan from the September 2021 approvals. At the time, we only had really one townhouse configuration that was mirrored and then repeated for all of them. It had a master bedroom, primary bedroom on the ground floor, and potential for 2 bedrooms upstairs, and had a single-car garage. We have now incorporated 2-car garages. We've sort of reconfigured the space on the ground level, so there is no substantial change in the square footage of the townhouses. And now we have a variation that puts a second bedroom, moves the second bedroom from the upper level to the ground floor, and still with the 2-car garages.
Stuart, we got the question earlier about what happened inside as a result
Inside.
of adding that bay.
And it's really moving space around, so it's not like we took out square footage from the townhouse to accommodate the garage space. It's more of a reconfiguration of the spaces. What I don't have for you, and I can have it for next time, or we can, in a memo, is the exact square footage differences.
I would like
Yeah.
to know that.
I kind of thought you might.
So
Yes, sir.
the footprint on the ground floor, you introduced another garage and you introduced another bedroom.
Yeah.
That footprint had to increase or something else has shrunk in size.
It is a little larger on, yeah,
Okay,
for those 10 townhouses.
okay.
And because they're doubled up, it's really five blocks where that
Mhm.
occurs. And really, this is the end of it, which goes back to what Mr. Steinmetz talked about at the very beginning. The elevations, we have adapted the elevations based on the changes to the basic building floor plan. We're still tweaking these. These will get further refined, and we'll have larger presentations and renderings for the ARB, but do want to make very certain, you can see in the bottom, that is the elevation, front elevation view from September of '21, and we've outlined that in red to show the various heights, and then move that line up so you can see the differences. I'm going to pick a different color if I can, maybe not, but you can see there are some areas where the roof line has actually gotten smaller, or the footprint has gotten smaller, but the main point that the maximum height of the building at its highest point has not changed, and it had been an evolution as part of the design back in 2021 when we were talking to the ARB. The sort of 6 false dormers that were up on the roof in September 21, I think are mentioned in Mr. Noskin's letter, had already been removed and remain removed from the plan. And that's really it.
Mr. Lax, can you point out, I read someplace that there are some balconies. Is that in assisted living or independent living?
Both.
Both. Can you point them out, please?
Yeah. Here's balconies. These balconies were there. You can see we just changed the configuration.
Okay.
Let's see, we've added some balconies around the side. Not all of them show up in this view, but at Sunrise's request, there are more balconies around distributed around the building.
There were, as I understand it, Juliet balconies originally approved that were really non-functional but attractive, and now there's a little bit more functional space available.
Could you actually go out on these balconies? Or
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
you
can
can.
actually
Okay.
go out and put a chair there, and
Okay.
Sunrise's experience, residents, even though they have plenty of open space and lovely amenities, people like to be able to open a door and sit outside.
And that's going to go by the architectural review board.
Correct.
Yeah.
That we will present that in detail.
Okay. Thank
Is,
you.
Is there, are the windows to me, and I said this back in '21 also, have a feeling of bars instead of openness. And it's disturbing to me. It reminds me, please don't take this in an unintended way. It's just an observation. There used to be tuberculosis facilities upstate in New York. And that is the way the windows looked. And I think, to me, this is off-putting. They just seem to be like bars on the windows.
I understand and appreciate your comments. I would ask you to hold until we present better views, the sort of black and white drawing presentation.
I did consider that.
Yeah.
I did.
So, and I think you can see some of that in the rendering.
So what we were hoping to do tonight is simply give you an overview of these changes. Based upon your questions, I know I want to make sure that Stuart and I put in writing specifically some of the measurement and square footage questions that you prompted, so that you get very precise answers on the overall reduction of the massing of the building, the overall reduction or changes in the unit sizes, increases where appropriate, and provide, as well as the parking number. So we'll provide all of that in a written submission for the next meeting.
Could I address Anthony?
Please.
And
I may not let him answer, but go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, Anthony, Don Crum. I want to go to the Dolph engineering letter, which you probably evidently had a huge amount of time to look at.
I looked at it quickly.
Okay, but what I want to say is that this letter sort of shocked me. Enough time has gone by. I wasn't on the planning board 4 years ago. In fact, this may be my last meeting, depending on the election. I may be moving to the Board of Trustees, depending on the election results next week. But what I want to say is that there's very, very fundamental issues that are raised here. It doesn't seem to me minor issues. They're talking about the sanitary sewer is not proved to be adequate. Now, and I'm going to let you address that, right? Perhaps the water system has not been built out adequately. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. And then the stormwater. It's saying that the stormwater plan, which I spent a lot of time over the weekend looking at the details, great plan, does not increase stormwater runoff from the site versus, existing. But it's saying that the assumptions that the whole plan is built around may be flawed.
Well, if I may, if I remember correctly, and maybe Mike could help solidify that too, is during the approval process, I guess, when they were back before the ARB, these were always conditions that we had to address.
Right.
Which were listed in Dr. Alfred's memorandum of 2021. So those things were always in process and always had to be provided prior to us making any kind of submissions to the building department or anything like that.
Right.
So and I can tell you on some of the key points that you hit on with regards to sanitary sewer. So we have received confirmation from the Department of Environmental Facilities that the plant has adequate capacity to accept our anticipated new flows to the sewer, and whatever agreements that we need to make with the village are going to be done. It's kind of like a giant service line per se, which still needs to go to the health department for approval.
My suggestion with this, because part of our jurisdiction is dealing with stormwater management, and I know it's not really part of your amendments, but it's sort of an overflow from the original site plan, is that what we would want to see is we would want to see another memorandum from Dolph's office, basically, saying that whatever issues they have been addressed. And if they haven't been addressed, timeframes of when they would be addressed. And so I think, Don, intelligently gave me a call this afternoon and said, there's this memo that I'm concerned about, and I think his interest was is very, very early in this process, giving you an opportunity to just deal with this issue and get it off our plate if it can be done. And if there are complications, there's time to deal with it. But I encourage you to work with Dolph's office, sit down, do whatever you got to do, and see whether, what are really outstanding issues now based on that memo, what is resolved, what can be resolved, and timeframes is how
So
they can be resolved.
very much appreciate you raising it at the outset, and I'm quite mindful of your concerns about stormwater in general. On other applications, you've expressed this. I've been in front of you, and
Right.
yes, so you've made it very clear that you're concerned. Stepping into this with Sunrise at this juncture of a project that was approved, that went through SECRA, I maybe wrongfully assumed you all had thoroughly vetted that and signed off on that, and that Anthony had as well, Oliveri. But if that isn't the case, we'll deal with it. My client is in due diligence now, and does not yet own this property, so they obviously need to know that it's functional. Our understanding is sewer, water, stormwater, wetland mitigation, all had been previously addressed satisfactorily to the lead agency's satisfaction, and that we were in effect buying into that previously approved plan. So we know Anthony very well.
Yeah.
Let us reach out.
Yeah.
We're going to set up a meeting.
Okay.
I can assure you that I'm going to drive to my next meeting from here, and all I'm going to think about are the comments you just made, because
There was-
because Clyde's going to probably be calling me on my phone as I'm driving to my next meeting. So we will deal with that, I can assure you. And you-
Okay.
There was
Let me-
also,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
There was also a discussion about water supply, and the fact that Connecticut, we get partial water from Connecticut and partial from the Westchester Waterworks, and Viola was supposed to be involved in, signing off on a document that asserted that. And to my understanding, that was not done.
It was not, and we have been in close contact with Viola Water, and they are supposed to give us their analysis based upon the project and what has changed in the surrounding areas with regards to water demand. We have been told that all the improvements of the previous approval with regards to the interconnection and over in Anderson Hill Road and all the meter bypasses and things like that are still valid for this project. And I guess they were waiting for somebody to fund those improvements before they were doing them. I know they have not done them, but I also know that there have been other improvements, specifically in Anderson Hill Road, which helped the overall situation with regards to the water. So we have been in contact with them on a weekly basis.
Okay.
I think what we need to do is set up a meeting with Sarah, Anthony, and Michael as soon as possible, and have a staff-level discussion and address all of these technical comments.
Okay, I just want to say on the stormwater, and I know maybe I'm beating a dead horse, but the perk test numbers are, that he's drawing attention to, to a layman might sound very minor, but if you don't get to the numbers you need that you've assumed, it could be a big, let me ask you, could it be a big issue, or is it just going to be like, no matter what happens, you've got workarounds?
No, well, if the numbers that don't pan out based on what we assumed, then modifications would have to be made to the practices that we're providing. So whether if they're better, then we would show less areas to contain it. If it had to be more, it would have to be more areas.
Right, but it's like, the perk test is showing like 30% less than you're assuming, right? The groundwater might be higher than you're assuming.
Well, it was back, and again, these tests were performed back in
Right.
2018, so I would.
But I'm just saying that-
It would require new.
My gut feeling is it may be very, very fundamental to your stormwater design, and I don't know whether you've got enough room to sort of design around it. So, I mean, if you tell me you do, don't worry that no matter what happens, it's going to be
I
fine.
believe there is plenty of
Okay.
room, especially with the reduction of the buildings and the new current plan that we have to work with. And I'm pretty, I'm
Okay.
sure that we can get this worked out with Anthony and everything.
Okay. I mean, Sunrise, we're very, as a community, very, looking forward to being able to work with Sunrise and, welcome you into the community. So I didn't think we would be, as someone that wasn't on the board 4 years ago, I'm sort of surprised that we're, dealing with some fundamental issues here.
Let's look at it. A little
Yeah,
surprised to hear the comment.
Yeah.
And I also thought too, on Anthony's every comment memo, he always reserved comment for further comment, so I don't think he actually physically said.
Well, that's,
He's not here to defend himself, but let's just say
Well, that's
that
the thing,
maybe in other communities, sometimes he regurgitates the comments and they stay on the memo, but
well, that's what I want to sort of confirm. I want to know whether those comments are still viable and.
let's not speculate.
Right,
We'll
exactly.
talk to him. We need to know the answers as much as you do.
Okay,
We
appreciate
don't want to
that.
have stormwater problems
No.
just like you don't.
Right, because, the other thing that may not be obvious to the community, this water doesn't run down King Street, down to Portchester, or it doesn't run to the Byram Creek. It makes its way to the heart of Rybrook and ultimately into the city of Rye. So it's, your meeting, your design meets the requirements, I get that. And so we want to make sure that all the fundamental, and so do you, I'm sure, want to make sure all the fundamental building blocks, because it's not theory, like this is reality. Like we already have flooding problems, and this goes right through the heart of Rybrook. And like I said, into the city of Rye.
We are going to make sure that this site does not contribute to any flooding problems.
Okay, great.
Whether you have and this is the conversation
Right.
you and I had on another project.
I understand.
We may not be able to cure the challenges that Rybrook experiences elsewhere.
No, I'm not looking for anything other than what's.
Fair enough.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
needed to say that because I didn't want him to fly back to Washington thinking, oh, God, I got to solve all the problems.
No,
No.
There was extensive studies done for downstream analysis.
Yeah.
right.
I just want an accord. That's what I want. I want everyone to be on the same page as to where we are.
So do
That's
we.
what- Okay, perfect. Any other questions? Sure, go ahead, Rob.
We walked through this before. I am confident that all of these little details are going to be worked out. I remember we complimented each other at the end of the 4 years ago when the project was given final blessing. Unfortunately, 4 years went by and nothing happened. I don't want that to happen again. Now, you assure me that we have somebody with a lot of experience. That's a big plus. Nobody ever talks about, other than Ms. Schoen, about the need for the project. I'm sure your new owner probably has done some market studies, and there is a need for the project. Having said that, do you, before you embark on a large project like this, in back of your mind, you do have some sort of implementation time frame. Would you want to be able to share that with us?
Implementation timeframe?
Yeah, the project, schedule, overall, yes.
Schedule of construction? I think in the 20...
I'm Clyde McGraw with Sunrise Senior Living. Yeah, please. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Clyde McGraw with Sunrise Senior Living. The honest answer is a lot of it is outside of our hands. There's obviously, an approval and permitting process to go through.
But you have to have, no, I don't agree with that for a minute.
Okay.
You assume from the time you get final approvals, then it's in your hands.
Yes.
Okay. What is that implementation schedule for you?
Our goal is to begin construction as soon as possible. So after we go through the process with you all
Okay,
and ARB
assume,
and submitting a building permit, our goal is to have a building permit in hand potentially by the end of this year.
Okay, assuming you start construction January 2006.
26.
January,
When do you expect to have the project completed?
we're expecting approximately a 22 to 23 month construction period.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
That answer your question?
Yes, I'm not going to hold you to it, but I do hope that we don't have another 4 year,
No.
that nothing goes by and we do it again.
Again, all we can tell you is this is an entity that speaks for itself in terms of its track
That's why I
record.
asked you at the very beginning. 250 units
Yes.
nationwide
Yes.
speaks a volume.
And this is not their first rodeo in Westchester County or in New York State. We expect to be here as quickly as possible. And just so that Clyde's answer is comprehensive, there's local permitting that you're all focused on. There's also state permitting that has to occur.
Oh, yes.
So, so there are a bunch of hurdles that we have to jump.
Just, does the DOH in Westchester and the state have any input into this? Who is the accrediting agency for you generally?
Generally, it's the state.
State DOH. Local, county DOH is really just for sewer and water
Okay. Mhm.
infrastructure.
Okay.
But all of these permits are in a hopper. You are applying, you're not waiting for us to give you final approval, or you're doing everything concurrently?
Once we know we have sewer and water and stormwater, then we're going to start doing that.
Okay.
Okay, we have two things to do procedurally. One is to set a public hearing for next month, which I think we can do, and that will give the members of the public and the Arbors community an opportunity to ask more questions, and if they have any. And the other one is to refer the application to the ARB for them to start as soon as they can in reviewing whatever's within their
I
jurisdiction.
did speak earlier today with Jennifer and with George, and it's unclear whether we're going to the March 19th meeting or a different meeting, and they endeavored to communicate back to us as soon as you all figure that out. Sarah, if you know more than they do.
For planning or?
No, for ARB.
ARB.
It was some, okay,
Let's call Steve tomorrow.
that's fine. Jen told me
And
that
that can be
there-
done, and I think that can be done concurrently with us.
Perfect.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
would you do the steep slope and wetlands separately from the public hearing that we need to make a recommendation to the board?
Just separately? I
Or you
mean,
handle it all together? How
That's
would
it.
we would handle it all together. I don't think there's any steep slopes or wetlands
So I said it
issues.
earlier, and I'll just say it again, and then we'll demonstrate it,
Yeah.
and Sarah and Michael, I'm sure will review it. There are no additional steep slopes or wetland impacts associated with the minor tweaks we're
So
talking
if
about
we
here.
could handle that then all together, so we don't have to,
Yeah.
piecemeal.
Well, we have jurisdiction, because these are amendments, we have
Yes.
jurisdiction over the whole thing.
Okay.
So if there were any steep slopes or wetlands issues, that would be within our jurisdiction to determine. If they're not, we still have the jurisdiction over the site plan amendments.
Absolutely.
And so
That's why we're
that's,
here.
I did not read the resolution for the notice for the public hearing. Does it include all three components?
It doesn't, John, but you were reading our mind because we were just having that discussion.
See, we think alike. Because
Since you have confirmed that there's no wetland or steep slope impacts, we really only need to advertise for
Site plan
site plan. But if you would like us to be on the safe side, we can also include wetland and steep slopes instead of
I
any
think you
of
should
the
do that.
modifications.
I would agree. Even if you use, reaffirmation of the prior approval.
yeah, I would do it. Make it broader so that we don't have to
And this-
renotice anything.
And
It's
this
a good
would be
point.
for the resolution, right? Between now and then, you guys will know more and we'll be able to know.
Everyone will be- again,
Notice is
everyone-
going to have to go out. You're going to need to give us a notice that we are, do we send this notice or do you do?
Send it.
Okay, so we're going to need the notice that we need to agree upon.
Right.
The date of that meeting, just so everybody hears it tonight?
Be
April 10th.
April 10th, okay. Okay, so do you have a resolution? You're going to do it on the fly?
I do have a resolution, and I'll
Okay.
do it on the fly.
All right.
Whereas the applicant, Sunrise Development, submitted an application for approval of an amended PUD site plan and reaffirmation of the wetlands and steep slopes permit on the property located at 900 King Street. Now therefore be it resolved, the Planning Board of the Village of Rybrook will hold a public hearing on April 10th, 2025 at 6:30 PM in Village Hall. Be it further resolved that the applicant is hereby directed to comply with Section 250-40 of the Village Code regarding public notification of the public hearing.
Okay, can I have a?
so move. Second?
Mr. Grzan,
Yes.
Mr. Crum,
Yes.
Mr. Mendelson,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Ms. Schoen,
Yes.
Chairman Goodman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, do we have a separate resolution for referral to the ARB?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not in writing, it doesn't have to be in writing, but
Okay.
just a resolution to refer to the ARB and get that process.
Okay. So
Moved.
can okay, second? Who's the second? I guess I can be a second. Can I be a second?
Well, I got Amy and John.
Wait a
Okay.
minute, did we not refer that to ARB 4 years ago?
We're doing it for the
Correct, but you're
amendments.
doing it now with the
Refreshing it.
amendments.
I don't know whether we actually did that, though, because we didn't have.
No, we
final-
didn't.
the
We
board-
never-
final-
we-
The board did it.
The Board of
because they- yeah.
Trustees did that.
Yeah.
So we have Amy Schoen for move, John Grzan for second for referring application to ARB.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
so Mr. Grzan,
Yes.
Mr. Crum,
Yes.
Mr. Mendelson?
Yes.
Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
Ms. Schoen?
Yes.
Chairman Goodman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you gentlemen next month.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Okay,
for your
then.
time. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next application is 123 Northridge Street.
That's how you read it, so it's in there now.
Outcome than the last one? You think this is gonna be different?
I know it's like,
That these may actually
They're a
do it?
different group. They're a much more
Yeah.
serious
No, they're
group.
not.
So I didn't,
Much more knowledgeable
yeah,
group.
no, my question is, do you think they're gonna build it?
Yeah, I think they I have the benefit of having pre-agenda meetings with people like the experts.
I'm just like, chicken
Yeah.
in my mind,
Last
chicken
time
in my
around,
mind.
for a couple of years?
They're all over Connecticut. They're in Stamford.
Good.
My daughter worked in one. I visited several.
So I didn't set mine up tonight, because I figured I had to use the town.
They're very good at what they do.
Good.
I just don't know in this day and age how realistic a rental is in this kind of facility. What?
Yeah, but it's a good point, though. Just all that stuff.
They bought them though. They're over $1 million. This is a rental. You know, I don't know what they're. That's in Broadview. It's like at the Osborne. They run similarly to the Osborne.
Just assume that's how they do it, but
No, this is strictly rental.
this is just rental.
At least the townhouses are rental. I'm not sure about the other. I don't know how they're going to do that.
Make sure it's witnessed by.
So why does it all vary come to this one? Discussing what it always seems like our engineering comes in like an hour
This reminds me of when your complex was being built. And they used to come, a huge team.
Yeah.
But they were great guys. They were terrific people.
No,
Accept
it's professional. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what you want to do with the project. You want to have someone who has the expertise.
Nothing. They really, they're
Open up the payments folder.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, normally I set it up in another folder for the meeting, but I thought I was using the one set up, so I didn't do it.
when you have 1 million on your computer,
What?
it's hard. I said when you have 1 million of them on your computer.
Anyway, keeps me on my toes. Okay, so I'm here for 123 Northridge Street. So right now it's a ranch house, which we're proposing to add a second floor to. We're here because it's Northridge Street and it's a scenic overlay district, is one reason, and then I
That's
think
right.
also we need
That's-
variances.
That's our jurisdiction.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, with that said, all right, so let's look at the house. It's the house that's next to the one that has.
It's right
the-
across from Crawford.
What? Right across from Crawford. So, it's a unique,
Is that the one next that has a horse in the front?
it's the one that's next to the sculptures.
Yeah.
Yes, oh, yeah.
Left. So, all right, so that's the house. The front's brick, the sides are stucco. The back looks out. The garage is on the side entrance to the garage. So I know one of the comments was,
John, speak into the mic.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so, all right, so that's basically the house. So it's very 1950s. We're going to give it a different look. All right, so let's go back to my drawings. Okay, so I guess if I. Okay, so if we look at the site plan, because we're in the scenic overlay district, the scenic overlay district, the front yard setback is 45 feet instead of 30. So it cuts through the house. So we need a front yard setback for the house for the second floor. We also wanted to add a front porch to the house because we're kind of across from Crawford Street. We're trying to, it's going to be a two-story house from a one. We wanted to kind of scale it down. So we thought a porch would be a good idea. So now the porch puts the front of the house, pushes out the front of the house, now the 6 feet that we're putting for the porch. So we need a front yard variance for the porch and the second floor. The existing house sits too close to the left side. It's supposed to be 10 feet off, and the house is like 7.5. So we need a variance for this, for the second floor, the front porch to align with the front of the house. And since it's kind of a thin house, for the deck to align with the side of the house.
You also need a height ratio.
We need a height ratio on the side that's too tight.
Yeah.
Because we're going to the second floor. And because it's North Ridge Street, we're trying not to back out onto the road. So we wanted to put some kind of turn in the front yard, which is considered parking in the front yard. I know the review letter, because this garage enters from the side of the house, like the lower part of the driveway is fanned out, but they don't really use the garage. If they use the garage, like, you can't park there because the cars, you can't get in and out of the garage if the car is parked because the car kind of blocks the turn to get in and out. We could maybe play with something at the bottom, but I think it's going to be more pavement because you have to be able to get in and out of the garage and then still back out and turn. Because I know the comment was if you did more down the hill, you could turn around at the bottom of the house and then pull out the driveway. But a lot of people, either going to be cars down there or a lot of people aren't going to pull all the way down to turn around, I think, if people visit. So that's kind of why we wanted to try to do some kind of turnaround in the front yard. And we did do a planting plan to add a buffer of landscaping along the front of the house between the road and the parking area. Which we can, so that's.
I guess my overall impression was that, you have a decent number of variances to deal with.
Yep.
Have you given some thought to any ways of maybe limiting those variances? I mean, you're very thorough about this, I'm sure.
And I think I have the record of the most variances in Rhode
Yeah, but
which I'm not supposed to ever top.
We know that. But is there any ideas you have of, like one of the things that it was I guess two things. One is dealing with the driveway and that turnaround and whether or not there's another way of maybe being able to do that. But also you're adding a second floor to a house that also already looks sort of tall on a scenic overlay district. And it just seems like there's a lot going on with the house with sort of a very limited, footprint that you have, and you have a lot of sort of challenges to deal with.
It's challenging because it's a thin lot and we're on the house. I mean, the front of the house isn't as tall as the back of the house because the back walks out. So, which is a good thing. The back's taller than the front is. And the deck on the back of the house will help soften the rear part of it. I mean, we can try to look at the height setback. I mean, I did do a hip roof to try to scale the roof down.
Mhm.
I mean, the only footprint change we made was squaring off the house, because right now the front door is kind of set back from the front of the house. Like there's a walkway on the side. So the only footprint change we kind of did, and it's really not a footprint change because it had the walkway to the front, but we just squared off the house to make it make a little bit more sense. So, I mean, definitely we could try to work with the parking or, the house is, they've backed out on the road for, 60 years. So maybe.
Well, obviously they're doing this for safety reasons too.
Right. I mean, we could look at the back and maybe
If there's
flying
any
the side of
way-
the driveway
right.
or something to make it make more
Right.
sense and not have it up front. I mean, that's definitely something we could definitely look at.
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
And I could maybe look at the height setback, but as far as the footprint of the house, like if I don't line up with the house, it kind of looks like a weird house.
If you are a neighbor to the left, that's an extremely important thing. No, I said, if I'm a neighbor to the left, I would look at that as a very, very imposing structure, basically almost creating a lot of shadow onto me and my property. Because that house next door is a ranch house, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a split level. It's a
Yeah.
split level in the
Yeah,
bedroom.
yeah.
The two-story bedroom is against that house.
Which is what the zoning was about, not letting that happen in a sense.
Yeah.
right. I mean, it's, yeah.
No, but they're talking about making it, yeah.
Mr. Scarlato, you don't get a lot of variances because of your design style. You get a lot of variances because of the property you have to deal with.
Yeah, no, yeah.
The
no.
Southern village, southern
No,
part of the
and
village,
the house
that's
I got
very...
the most variances for
Yeah.
was, like, 6 of them were already existing
Yeah.
nonconformities.
Right, right.
It's a very difficult site, what you want to do.
Because then when he called me, I should have walked the other way.
No, we're going to work, and
no.
maybe we can work something
No,
out.
but what
it's,
yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking, John, is that I'm not sure I mean, the first thing we would do is we would set a public hearing. And I'm not sure, it's up to you how you want to do this, but it seems to me that, that maybe we can put our heads together and maybe come up with some compromises on what can be done in order to maybe limit the variances or maybe eliminate them, or, because I think the project, you know, I think your usual method, like with some other projects, is to go to a sketch plan conference and sort of lay it out, you know, can this work, cannot this not work? And I'm not sure that taking everything, all the things that need to be done to this house, that there are, you know, a lot of issues that if it gets before the ZBA without any I don't know what they're going to do with it. Because there's not, because as John said, the problem is not with the architecture, the problem is with the lot. And it may be that the expectations are just too much for what can be done with this. So, you know,
I have not looked at this site survey map.
Right.
I don't know what's the terrain in the back of the house, but one of the things that I would suggest, that turning radius, turning a carport on the front, it's going to become a parking lot, you and I know. Could that turning be done on the back of the house and eliminate that component?
I mean, I think we could probably work down where the garage is and take more to the side and more, and probably,
And provide
the
for
house
a
on the
provide
down,
for
yeah.
a turning.
So it's not visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Just to second a lot of that, but the parking to me is the most egregious because A, it's a scenic overlay district. B, it's across from sort of the premier park in the village, Crawford Park, which is historic. I mean, the Crawfords own that property, you know, more than 100 years ago. It's a landmark view, and to see that parking so close, I mean, I know we're not the zoning board variance, but to me, that's the most egregious part of, that's just, you know, one person speaking.
and the height setback ratio, I think that's
That's a severe. That's severe.
that's an issue too.
Yeah.
Because
Right, no, I'm
of-
not disagreeing with the other things, I'm just.
Yeah, no. So, because the house, you add a second floor to the house, it does become, you know, the amount of space with neighbors is, and that's not something you can screen. That's, you know, that's just up there. You know, I know that the applicant, you know, people that own property, they want to do with their property what they want to do with their property, but, you know, that's why you have all these regulatory approvals, because sometimes you just can't do what you want to do. So, you know, again, it's really, you know, up to you and your client, you know, how you want to move forward on this, but, you know.
I don't even know, can you refer this in good conscience to the zoning board
Well,
right now?
well, this is my concern, from the standpoint of mechanics, when we refer an application to the zoning board of appeals, there's a portion of the referral that asks for comments from the planning board, direction from the planning board, because we do the planning. And, if we don't provide them guidance, or we say, no, this is something that we think is problematic, you're going to have a harder time in front of them. That the best referrals that we make are referrals where we know that we're sending to the zoning board the least intrusive type of plan possible that doesn't meet zoning requirements, but the things that have to be done, and this is the best we can do. So changes in the physics of a property for safety reasons, we would refer it to the zoning board of appeals. We know there's a variance, but it can't be helped. There's a nonconformity, there's a safety issue. We support the applicant, a variance. But I'm not sure, we would have to, I would get into the real weeds of this, but I'm not sure that but by sending it to the zoning board of appeals, it's really going to be that helpful to you. And you have to deal with all these same issues.
Could you maintain, pardon me, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Could you maintain the 10-foot setback on the second story by kind of offsetting it at the second story, so you do have a kind of...
Yeah, no, I mean, I can. It just, in my mind, just creates a less
I know, but,
house.
And
we're, like, the house isn't that wide, so it's like...
You do have more room that you can go to on the south side of the house.
Right, but then I would be adding a two-story, or I would have to push the addition to the right more, which...
Yes, and that may be necessary, yeah.
No, because I was trying to go over kind of the footprint of the house.
Well, I know, but you can't, that's going to be very hard.
I would just comment that this house, to me, appears to be dwarfed by the houses that are to each of its side right now. So I applaud the homeowner for wanting to make improvements, and I think it would improve the street in general to improve this house. It's not attractive right now.
So maybe you do a drawing to show all three houses as they look from Crawford Park or something to show that it enhances the view.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a nice photograph, actually.
Yeah,
I can also go back and look and see if I can rework the roof line or rework the height setback maybe we can eliminate the height setback if I change the roof line or something.
Well, I guess, look, in light of the notice of disapproval relating to it and the comments here, it may be worth taking another shot. And then, whatever it ends up, if you're satisfied that you've done the best you can, then we refer it to the ZBA and say, well, we've done the best we can.
What would the site height setback, what would that eliminate that parking turning spot in the front?
Well, eliminating the parking in the front is just eliminating it, right? I mean, that's...
Well, you have it, it's not supposed to be a parking, just a turn.
I know.
And provide a turning spot in the back.
Yeah, no, so I mean...
And then you already have done 50%, and you're working with us, and we can do something.
No,
It's really those two-
parking
it's
is
really-
definitely something
Yeah.
we can look, and the parking I knew you weren't going to be fans of.
It's really, I mean, those two things are the major things. I mean, the scenic road overlay district, the setback, I mean, I recall in the past, there have been a number of times we've supported variances of that.
Well, I mean, you usually do, because usually most of the houses are in the wrong place.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Because if you built for a 30, you didn't build for a 45. in
Yes.
most cases.
And even
In
the
an
porch,
R10 zone.
even the porch in the front, if I was on the zoning board, I would not be bothered with that.
Right, I mean, most people don't mind the porch as long as it's conditioned that it has to stay open.
Sure, it's aesthetically, if it's done aesthetically, it's improved,
Right.
as Rich said, improved appearance.
So, I mean, have we given you any help here?
Yeah, no,
or-
Yeah, so then we should just come back next month. with-
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we are in position to refer this to the zoning board.
I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't, because, because then you're stuck with this. You don't have an opportunity of changing it, really. It probably makes more sense to to, see what we can do collectively to make it more likely that it's going to be easier to make the arguments before the zoning board of appeals, and then sort of do it. Because I could see how we could get held up there. And ultimately, I don't know, I give it, maybe 50% that they're going to have that they'll approve all of this. And if not, they're going to force you to make, revisions, climb down from a lot of these issues anyway. Might as well do it here, because we have, a group of people that are, really think about planning and engineers, experts, our staff here. So you have, resources. I think it's just trying to address these things to the best we can so that we can say that that's what we've done. And then I think the zoning board will say, well, okay, if the planning board thinks, this is the best design, within reason, based on what the objectives are. And I think your point about the fact that the improvement of the house is going to actually improve
The area,
the area,
definitely.
I think is, will feed into that, I think.
Okay, all right, so I'll submit something for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And your basic two biggest concerns is the parking in the front yard and the height setback.
Yeah, I think those are the two major components, I think.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that,
Good.
and that's that.
Good, well done.
Adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second? Aye.
I oppose it.